morning. You're watching ED News and I'm Preeti presenting this edition of Breakfast News this morning. In the next 1 hour, we'll get you through everything that's making it to the headlines. We'll get you national updates, international updates, also updates from the world of sports and business. Added to that, a web review and a health tip. Enough to keep you engaged for the next 1 hour. First, we get our headlines. Cabinet approves deep ocean mission to explore deep ocean for resources and develop deep sea technologies for sustainable use of ocean resources. Relief for farmers as Cabinet also approves nutrient-based subsidy rates for phosphatic and potassic fertilizers for the year 2021-22. Prime Minister Narendra Modi delivers keynote address at the 5th edition of Viva Tech, says India is home to one of the world's largest startup ecosystems and offers what innovators and investors need. Prime Minister lauds the role of innovation in India's fight against COVID-19. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to inaugurate Kimin-Potin road in Assam's Lakhimpur district today. The double-lane 20 kilometers road constructed by BRO will facilitate the establishment of the proposed industrial belt in Arunachal Pradesh. India progresses further in the fight against COVID-19. Active caseload declines to 8.26 lakh, lowest after 71 days. Number of people recovering from the disease outnumbers the new infections for the 35th straight day. Over 26.5 crore doses of the vaccine administered so far. Net direct tax collections for 2021-22 grow at a robust pace in spite of the disruption caused by COVID-19 on the economy. Net collections cross 185,000 crore rupees. Advanced tax collections show a growth of 146%. CBI files new charge sheet against Mehul Choksi and 20 others in the PNB scam case. For the first time, CBI adds destruction of evidence to the list of offences against Choksi. In international news, US President Joe Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin hold their first meeting since Biden took office. Biden describes the meeting as good and positive, says his agenda is for American people and not against Russia or anyone else. Putin calls the meet very constructive, says they agreed to begin consultations on cybersecurity issues, adds that respective ambassadors will return to their posts. Italy defeats Switzerland for 3-0 in Group A match of Euro 2020. Wales beat Turkey for 2-0 in another match. Belgium, Netherlands and Denmark to play their second match today. Good morning again. First we got to the headlines. Up next we get to the news and details. We begin with the national headlines. In a major decision, the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs gave its nod to the Deep Ocean Mission that aims to support blue economy initiatives. Now, the project will also aim to support the blue economy initiatives of the Government of India. The estimated cost of the mission will be 4,077 crore rupees for a period of 5 years, which will be implemented in a phase-wise manner. The estimated cost of the first phase for the 3 years from 2021 to 24 would be 2,823.4 crore rupees. Ministry of Earth Sciences will be the nodal ministry implementing this multi-institutional ambitious mission.
This all will help new emerging sectors in startups because this technology is not available in market. It's with limited 5 countries, US, Russia, France, Japan, China. India will be now 6th country to have it. And so there is good opportunity for our own small industries and research. And more importantly, this is also our travel in the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Where convention fails, innovation can help. Prime Minister Narendra Modi told the digital and startup event via video conference that this has been seen during the pandemic, which is the biggest disruption of our age. He showcased the digital innovations that helped India in its fight against the pandemic. The Prime Minister added that India offers what innovators and investors need. He also was the guest of honor at what is one of the largest digital and startup event in Europe. Other prominent speakers at the event will include President Emmanuel Macron of France and Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez of Spain. The event is held in Paris every year since 2016. The 5th edition of Viva Tech will conclude on 19th of June.
2 vaccines are being made in India and more are in the development or trial stage. On the government side, our indigenous IT platform, Arogya Setu, enabled effective contact tracing. Our COVID digital platform has already helped ensure vaccines to millions. Had we not been innovating, then our fight against COVID-19 would have been much weaker. We must not abandon this innovative zeal so that we are even better prepared when the next challenge strikes.
India continues to see a decline in COVID-19 cases. The country has registered 67,208 daily new cases in the last 24 hours. India's active caseload has declined to 8,26,740, which is the lowest after 71 days. Over 2.84 crore recoveries have been recorded so far across the country. Out of this, over 1.03 lakh patients recovered during the last 24 hours. With this, the daily recoveries continue to outnumber the daily new cases for the 35th consecutive day. Also, the recovery rate has increased to 95.93%. Weekly positivity rate continues to remain below 5% and currently stands at 3.99%. Daily positivity rate also remains less than 5% for 10 consecutive days and it now stands at 3.48%. Testing capacity substantially has been ramped up. That is 38.52 crore tests have been conducted in all. India also continues to cross milestones as far as the vaccination drive is concerned. 26.55 crore vaccine doses have been administered so far under nationwide vaccination drive. Out of this, more than 34.63 lakh people were vaccinated in the last 24 hours. Also, Indian Council of Medical Research, it says that 38 crore 52 lakh 38,220 samples have been tested so far in the country, including 19 lakh 31,249 samples that were tested yesterday. ICMR has recently held a study on the impact of second wave of COVID-19 on pregnant women. According to it, pregnant and postpartum women were more severely affected during the second wave of COVID as compared to the first, with symptomatic cases and the case fatality rate being significantly higher among this category this year. Cases related to pregnant and postpartum women during the first wave from April 1st, 2020 to January 31st, 2021 and during the second wave from February 1st, 2021 to May 14th, 2021 of the pandemic in India were compared. ICMR said that symptomatic cases were significantly higher at 28.7% in the second wave as compared to the first wave when proportion was 14.2%. Also, the case fatality rate among pregnant women and postpartum women was 5.7% during the second wave, which was significantly higher as compared to the scenario encountered in the first wave with case fatality rate at 0.7%. Total number of maternal deaths during both the waves of pandemic were 2%, of which the majority were due to COVID-19, pneumonia and respiratory failure. Thus, ICMR has said that the study underlines the importance of vaccination for pregnant and lactating women against the virus. After the imposition of a 40-day COVID-19 lockdown, Kerala government has decided to ease the restrictions from today. However, the total lockdown across the state on weekends will continue, announcing the relaxations after assessing the state's COVID situation. Chief Minister P. Vijayan said that shops selling essential goods will remain open across the state from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. from Monday to Friday. Industrial and agricultural activities have been permitted in all local bodies, and transportation facility will be allowed for workers in these sectors. Public transportation has also begun from today. Riyasi district in Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir has become the first district to register zero COVID positive case post the second wave as per yesterday's testing report. As per the Riyasi administration, intensive vaccination drive in the district and proper implementation of COVID guidelines by frontline workers and the police has helped the district to achieve this much needed success. Riyasi Deputy Commissioner thanked the doctors and frontline workers for this achievement. He also appealed to the general public to maintain and follow COVID appropriate behavior to completely eradicate the deadly virus. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will inaugurate the Kimin-Potin road in Assam's Lakhimpur district today. The double-lane 20 kilometers road constructed by Border Roads Organisation will facilitate the establishment of the proposed industrial belt in Arunachal Pradesh. The road will also serve as the main artery for Lower Subansiri district from Assam. Holy city of Varanasi woke up to the sound of rain this morning as rains lashed several parts of Uttar Pradesh. The state has been experiencing rainfall since past few days. Roads are waterlogged as rain continues to hit the city. As per the Met Department, Varanasi will experience a generally cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers today. A fire broke out at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Delhi, last night. Delhi Fire Service has informed that the fire was brought under control. Over 20 fire tenders were rushed to the Premier Hospital after the information was received about the fire around 10:30 p.m. No casualties were reported during the incident. Fire broke out in a non-patient block having labs at 9th floor of AIDS. Up next, we get to all the international updates in our segment Across the Globe. US President Joe Biden and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin described their first summit in a lakeside Swiss villa on Wednesday as professional rather than friendly, and said that they agreed to hold lower-level talks on cybersecurity and arms control and to send their ambassadors back to their capitals. US President Joe Biden asked Russian President Vladimir Putin how he would feel if someone carried out a ransomware attack on Russian oil pipelines.
I don't think he's looking for a Cold War with the United States. I don't think it's about as I said to him, I said, your generation and mine are about 10 years apart. This is not a kumbaya moment, as he used to say back in the 60s in the United States, like, let's hug and love each other. But it's clearly not in anybody's interest, your country's or mine, for us to be in a situation where we're in a new Cold War. And I truly believe he thinks that. He understands that. But that does not mean he's ready to, quote, figuratively speaking, lay down his arms and say, come on. He still, I believe, is concerned about being, quote, encircled. He still is concerned that we, in fact, are looking to take him down, etc. He still has those concerns. But I don't think they are the driving force as to the kind of relationship he's looking for with the United States.
Also, US President questioned Russian President, and he asked him that how would he feel if someone carried out a ransomware attack on Russian pipelines, a pointed question during their summit-level talks that illustrated the breadth of their disagreements.
When I talked about the pipeline that cyber hit for $5 million, that ransomware hit in the United States, I looked at him and I said, well, how would you feel if ransomware took on the pipelines from your oil fields? He said it would matter. This is not about just our self-interest.
Also, there was no hiding their differences on issues such as human rights, where Biden said that the consequences of Russia would be devastating if jailed Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny died, or cyberspace, where Washington has demanded Moscow crack down on ransomware attacks emanating from Russian soil.
I made it clear to him that I believe the consequences of that would be devastating for Russia. I'll go back to the same point. What do you think happens when he's saying it's not about hurting Navalny, all the stuff he says to rationalize the treatment of Navalny, and then he dies in prison? I pointed out to him that it matters a great deal when a country, in fact, and they asked me why I thought it was important to continue to have problems with the president of Syria. I said because there's a violation of international norm. It's called the Chemical Weapons Treaty. It can't be trusted. It's about trust. It's about their ability to influence other nations in a positive way. I don't have any problem with doing business with Russia as long as they do it based on international norms.
Russian President Vladimir Putin said that he saw a glimpse of hope for mutual trust with the United States after a meeting with President Joe Biden on Wednesday, but added that Washington's move to exit arms treaties showed its unpredictability. Putin talked to journalists about US-Russia relations at the news conference after the summit in Geneva.
We act in line with existing threats, and I think for the situation of real stability, we should agree on rules of behavior with the West in all those fields we were mentioning. They are strategic stability, cybersecurity, resolving issues with regional conflicts. I think we are able to come to agreement on all of them. That is my impression after meeting with President Biden.
India has signed an agreement extending a US $100 million line of credit, $100 million US line of credit to Sri Lanka for projects in solar energy sector. The agreement was signed between the government of Sri Lanka and the Export-Import Bank of India. A press statement from the Indian High Commission in Colombo said that India has become the first country to partner with Sri Lanka in fulfilling the vision of President of Sri Lanka, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, to ensure that 70% of Sri Lanka's national power requirements are fulfilled by renewable energy sources by 2030. This line of credit will help finance various projects in the solar energy sector in Sri Lanka, such as rooftop solar photovoltaic systems for households and government buildings. And going back to the summit-level talks between US and Russia, we are joined in by our correspondent Amritpal Singh to talk more about it. Amrit, we've given sound bites of both the leaders after the summit-level talks in Geneva. Talk more about it. How do you read the meeting between the two leaders to begin with?
Well, the meeting, Vladimir Putin has called the meeting as constructive, but it remains at that. The very fact that a joint press conference could not be held after the two leaders met for about 3 hours speaks about the frosty relationship that exists between the two countries. Now, Joe Biden's saying comments upon on Alexei Navalny, which you put out the bite, or on cyberspace, demanding Moscow crackdown on ransomware attacks, which emanated from Russian soil, and Putin was in his own press conference saying, well, the attacks, cyber attacks happen from Canada and US soil more than Russia. Obviously depicts that there were points of disagreement, but the good thing is that they used words like good, positive. So it's a start, which one can say that they try to arrest the free fall that one has seen in the relationship, especially after President Biden took over. Though this was something which was continuing for a very long time, the superpower rivals, of course, spoke about other overlapping interests, including the Arctic and Iran and Syria and Afghanistan, and also saying that they have a unique responsibility at the world stage. So clearly one would say that there were disagreements, as was expected, but yes, as President Biden said, that they established a clear basis on how they intend to work together in the future. Now what remains to be seen is that how much of these words will be translated into reality in the coming days. Preeti?
All right, Amrit. So we'll have to see how the days ahead pan. Thank you so much for joining us with those inputs. And moving focus to Nepal now, 7 people are missing in Nepal after flash floods triggered by heavy rains inundated Sindhupal Chowk district on Wednesday. Witnesses said that several people in Melamchi had moved to higher grounds with their belongings, while army choppers were rescuing those trapped in maroon houses. Authorities urged people living along the Narayani River, which flows into India as Gandak, to remain alert as the river was flowing above the danger mark. Neighbouring Bhutan has also been affected by flash floods, which washed away a remote camp, killing 10 people and injuring 5 on Wednesday. A village, Kinma village, Pok Township in the centre of Myanmar, has been burned down after clashes between the security forces and local guerrillas. It is reported that at least 2 people died. Local residents said that nearly all of the 240 houses in the village were razed to the ground by junta's army on Tuesday. Up next, we get you the global update on COVID-19 situation. The virus has infected over 17.77 crore people worldwide, while the number of recoveries stands above 16.22 crore. So far, it has claimed more than 38.48 lakh lives globally. The US continues to remain the worst affected country from COVID-19, with the number of cases crossing 3.43 crore. The country has crossed the grim milestone of over 6 lakh fatalities. The number now stands above 6,16,000. European Union governments agreed on Wednesday to add the United States to their list of countries from which they will allow non-essential travel, according to the EU diplomats. Albania, Lebanon, North Macedonia, Serbia and Taiwan will also be added, while Chinese administrative regions, Hong Kong and Macau will be included with a requirement for reciprocity removed. Individual European Union countries can still opt to demand a negative COVID-19 test or a period of quarantine. The European Union governments agreed on Wednesday to add the United States to their list of countries from which they will allow non-essential travel. Albania, Lebanon, North Macedonia, Serbia and Taiwan will also be added, while Chinese administrative regions, Hong Kong and Macau will be included with requirement for reciprocity removed. Individual European Union countries can still opt to demand a negative COVID-19 test or a period of quarantine. Spain's plan for recovery after COVID-19 pandemic and the transformation into a greener and more digitalized economy got European Commission's approval on Wednesday, the second such green light in the 27-nation EU after Portugal. As one of the main beneficiaries of a $908 billion European Union recovery scheme, Spain will get 69.5 billion euros in grants until 2026 to help revive its tourism-dependent economy, which has been hit hard by the crisis. Madrid will get the first 9 billion euros in pre-financing once European Union finance ministers sign off the plan in July.
That the European Commission has decided to give its green light to Spain's recovery and resilience plan. This comes indeed after an excellent cooperation. I really want to thank you for that. An excellent cooperation with the Spanish authorities. And of course, a thorough assessment through the Commission. I know this was tough times, but it was necessary, and we really have a good result. The plan was designed here in Spain, and it will boost growth here in Spain. Growth that will be led by the Spanish people, and it will be owned by the Spanish people.
Time now for a short break. Stay with us. We'll be back in a short while.
6 बजे डीडी न्यूज़ पर
Your window to rising India. India's voice on global platforms. Latest news from India and around the world. In-depth analysis of global headlines. Watch DD India in your country. Available for downlink in all Southeast Asian countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 10 at 83 degrees east. For technical details, scan here. Switch to DD India now.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching Breakfast News. Let's get you more international news. Britain has reported another 9,555 COVID-19 cases in the latest 24-hour period, the highest daily increase since February, according to the official figures released on Wednesday. The total number of cases in the country now stands at over 45 lakh. The country also recorded another 9 COVID-19 deaths. The total number of COVID-related deaths in Britain now stands at more than 1,27,000. Now, according to official figures, more than 42 million people have been given the first jab of the vaccine, while more than 30.4 million people have been fully vaccinated with the second dose. Public Health England's Strategic COVID-19 Response Director, Susan Hopkins, has said that 8 variants are under investigation, along with the 25 others that are being monitored. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson earlier announced a 4-week delay to the final step of England's roadmap out of COVID-19 restrictions until July 19th, amidst a surge in the cases of the Delta variant. Ireland Prime Minister has announced that the country will reopen to visitors within 120 days after more than a year of COVID-related travel curbs, a calculated risk needed to revive its troubled economy. The country was ahead of target in securing 105.5 million doses of the vaccine for this year and would seek more supplies next year. The Prime Minister added that the country plans to administer an average of 10 million shots of the vaccine each month from July onwards and aims to reopen the tourism-reliant country to fully vaccinated travellers, local and foreign, without a quarantine requirement. Further, he urged public to get vaccinated as fast as possible and said that the reopening target could only be met if vaccines are delivered according to the committed schedules. And France is all set to end the obligation to wear masks outside and would bring forward the lifting of a nighttime curfew as COVID infections fall and the country's vaccine drive picks up. Prime Minister reportedly said the requirement for people to wear masks outdoors is in much of the country would be lifted from today, with some expectations or exceptions, while an unpopular 11 p.m. COVID curfew will be scrapped on June 20th, 10 days earlier than initially planned. Australia's most populous city, Sydney, has recorded 3 new locally acquired cases of COVID-19 on Thursday. These cases mark the first instances of community transmission in over a month. New South Wales State said that it is not clear how the man acquired the virus, although it has been found that he is a driver who occasionally transports overseas airline crew. Police investigations are underway to determine whether the driver breached health protocols. Diligent contact tracing, lockdowns and strict social gathering measures have helped Australia successfully combat prior outbreaks and keep its COVID-19 numbers relatively low, with just under 30,300 cases and 910 deaths. Up next, we get you all the business news in our segment Biz Buzz. The CBI has filed a new charge sheet against Mehul Choksi and 20 others in the Punjab National Bank scam case. The CBI has for the first time added destruction of evidence to the list of offences that he has been accused of. In its charge sheet, the agency has claimed that Choksi faces charges of getting 165 letters of undertaking and 58 foreign letters of credit fraudulently issued in 2017 in connivance with PNB officials. According to CBI, the fraud led to loss of thousands of crores rupees to the state-run bank and efforts were made to hide it. The net direct tax collections for financial year 2021-22 increased by 100.4% over the collections of the preceding year. The figures of direct tax collections for financial year 2021-22 show that net collections are at 1,85,871 crore rupees as compared to 92,762 crore rupees over the corresponding period of the preceding year, representing an increase of 100.4% over the collections of the preceding year. The gross collection of direct taxes for financial year 2021-22 stands at rupees 2,16,602 crores as compared to 1,37,825 crore rupees in the corresponding period of the preceding year. Now, despite extremely challenging initial months of the new fiscal, advanced tax collection for the first quarter of the financial year 2021-22 stands at rupees 28,780 crore as against advanced tax collections of rupees 11,714 crore rupees for the corresponding period of the immediately preceding financial year, showing a growth of approximately 146%. Refunds amounting to rupees 30,731 crore have also been issued in the financial year 2021-22. The 3 main Wall Street indices all fell on Wednesday, and US Federal Reserve officials unnerved investors with indications that they are projecting interest rate hikes for 2023. With inflation rising faster than expected, Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 264.41 points to 34,034.92. S&P 500 lost 22.83 points to 4,223.76. And the Nasdaq Composite dropped 33.17 points to 14,039.68. Indian Information Technology Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad on Wednesday said that Twitter failed to comply with the intermediary guidelines. The company, quote-unquote, deliberately chose the path of non-compliance despite being granted multiple opportunities. He also said that what happened in Uttar Pradesh was illustrative of Twitter's arbitrariness in fighting fake news. Twitter will now be liable for action under Indian Penal Code for third-party unlawful content. Earlier this month, the government had given one last chance to Twitter to comply with the new IT rules, which came into effect on 26th of May.
Microblogging site Twitter has lost its indemnity or legal protection from prosecution over users' posts in India because of its failure to comply with the new digital rules. This means that it can now be made a party to criminal cases involving posts and content published on it. Twitter has lost its intermediary status as provided by the law and the protection offered under Section 79 of the Information Technology Act 2020. Social media companies were supposed to comply with the new guidelines by 25th of May, including appointment of a grievance officer and appointment of a legal advisor. Twitter failed to do the same.
Failure of compliance of IT rules, the protections which were available to social media intermediaries cannot be claimed by Twitter anymore. Twitter is now vulnerable and subjected to all criminal and civil liabilities in India in any cases what will come. They can be today criminally sued, made criminally accountable, they can be criminally investigated, they can be sued for defamation. All sort of liabilities Twitter is now vulnerable to.
The first case in which Twitter can face charges for third-party content was filed in Uttar Pradesh, Ghaziabad, in connection with an alleged assault on an elderly Muslim man on June 5th. Twitter has been accused in an FIR of not removing misleading content linked to the incident. Tweets were shared with a clear motive to provoke communal sentiments, says the FIR, adding that the misleading posts were retweeted by thousands of people.
जो कंटेंट सोशल मीडिया वगैरह पे पब्लिश किया गया वो गैर जिम्मेदारी वाला है और उसका जो है अभी तक किसी भी तरीके से वेरिफिकेशन नहीं हुआ। तावीज़ को लेकर के ये घटना की गई और इसीलिए जो है जिन लोगों ने जानबूझ करके सोशल मीडिया पर एक अलग एंगल देने के लिए इसको पब्लिश किया तो हमने उसके खिलाफ एक FIR कल यहाँ गाजियाबाद में लिखी है जिसमें 7 लोग के खिलाफ FIR लिखी गई है प्लस ट्विटर इंडिया के खिलाफ लिखी गई है। हमारी टीम लगातार मॉनिटर कर रही है कम्युनल हार्मनी और पीस को डिस्टर्ब करने की जो भी कोशिश की जाएगी उसके खिलाफ कठोर विधिक कार्रवाई हम लोग करेंगे।
Union IT Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad, in a series of posts on Twitter as well as microblogging site Koo, gave a detailed explanation of the move against Twitter. He said, there are numerous queries arising as to whether Twitter is entitled to safe harbor provision. However, the simple fact of the matter is that Twitter has failed to comply with the intermediary guidelines that came into effect from 26th of May. Further, Twitter was given multiple opportunities to comply with the same. However, it has deliberately chosen the path of non-compliance. The culture of India varies like its large geography. In certain scenarios, with the amplification of social media, even a small spark can cause a fire, especially with the menace of fake news. This was one of the objectives of bringing the intermediary guidelines. It is astounding that Twitter, which portrays itself as the flag bearer of free speech, chooses the path of deliberate defiance when it comes to the intermediary guidelines. Further, what is perplexing is that Twitter fails to address the grievances of users by refusing to set up process as mandated by the law of the land. Additionally, it chooses a policy of flagging, manipulates media only when it suits its likes and dislikes. What happened in UP was illustrative of Twitter's arbitrariness in fighting fake news. While Twitter has been over-enthusiastic about its fact-checking mechanism, its failure to act in multiple cases like UP is perplexing and indicates its inconsistency in fighting misinformation. Indian companies, be it pharma, IT or others, that go to do business in USA or in other foreign countries voluntarily follow the local laws. Then why are platforms like Twitter showing reluctance in following Indian laws designed to give voice to the victims of abuse and misuse? The rule of law is the bedrock of Indian society. India's commitment to the constitutional guarantee of freedom of speech was yet again reaffirmed at the G7 summit. However, if any foreign entity believes that they can portray itself as the flag bearer of free speech in India to excuse itself from complying with the law of the land, such attempts are misplaced. In the past, Twitter has faced several allegations of arbitrariness regarding action against controversial and inflammatory tweets. There have also been several allegations of adopting double standards. What is clear from this entire episode is that while all social media companies are welcome to do business in India, they have to follow the laws of the country in letter and in spirit. With inputs from Shailendra Mishra and Neeraj Singh, Bureau Report, DD News.
All right, up next, we get to our next segment, Web News Review. And for Web News Review, our correspondent Arun is joining us. Arun, good morning. Let us know what headlines have you picked up for us. All right, I beg your pardon, I've been corrected. It's Nancy who's joining us this morning. Nancy, good morning. Let us know what headlines have you picked up for us from the social media platforms.
Right. Good morning, Preeti. Just to give you a sense of what really the national dailies are carrying this morning. First of all, let's begin with the Times of India, and this is something that's been really a variant of concern, the Delta variant. So, how really the vaccines work against the Delta variant. This is a very interesting piece and a very informative piece that's been carried by the Times of India. Of course, the Delta variant of the COVID-19, the VOC that was first identified in India, is now a cause of global concern, with studies showing it is more contagious and resistant to vaccines and other forms of COVID. But there's also some, news of relief with the evidence suggesting that the vaccines retain important effectiveness against Delta after the 2 doses of the vaccine. Moving on now from the Economic Times, well, all eyes are clearly on the Sputnik 5 pilot, which is in the final legs, and it is also in fact being scaled up to other cities. Dr. Reddy's, of course, Dr. Reddy's laboratories, which is of launching Russia's COVID-19 vaccine, Sputnik 5, and the pilot, which is in Mumbai, in the final leg to other cities, it is Mumbai, Bengaluru, and also the national capital, Delhi. While presently the status is that it is being limited to a limited pilot phase. Now, the registration also on the CoWIN, as we all know, is not open for the public and will only become open once the commercial launch is commenced. That was, of course, according to the press release from Dr. Reddy's laboratories. Moving on now to once again important news, that was, of course, the ICMR study that was done on the pregnant and the postpartum women. Remember, this was, of course, a vulnerable section that was, more severely affected during the second COVID wave that we saw here than the first one. So what the study really says here, that the pregnant and the postpartum women were most severely affected as compared to the first wave, with symptomatic cases and the case fertility rate, remember, also PT, being significantly higher among this category this year. So the ICMR study now suggesting that, of course, how this section really needs to be vaccinated, and of course some more trials perhaps needs to be done to make sure that this section remains safe. Just to quote the figures also, PT, the cases related to pregnant and postpartum women during the first wave and during the second wave, of course, they will also compare. All right, moving on now to some other news in the Sun Times, and this is in fact Sunil Gavaskar saying while picking India's combination for WTC final, and in fact he's batted for both Ashwin there and Jadeja, and in fact saying it gives depth to batting. Many questions were really asked as to how really 3 simmers and 2 spinners with Ashwin and Jadeja, 4 simmers because it's England, or an extra batsman in Hanuma Vihari. Well, the questions are aplenty, remember, as far as India's team combination is concerned for the World Test Championship final against New Zealand. That's starting on the 18th of this month in Southampton. So Sunil Gavaskar is saying it is not that difficult a choice. He's in fact called it that it is only strengthens the bowling attack, but also gives a depth to the batting lineup as well. All right, and towards the last news item of the day today from me, the Times of India, that is, of course, mandatory hallmarking of gold begins. Of course, a decision that was taken. So really, this piece elaborates on what all the customers need to know. Remember, the centre's directive there for mandatory hallmarking of gold jewelry and the artifacts came into effect. Has in fact come into effect now. And in November in 2019, the government had announced that hallmarking of gold jewelry and the artifacts could be made mandatory across the country. And at first, on the 15th of January this year, the deadline that was set by the centre. However, that was further extended for 4 months till the 1st of June, and then of course till 15th, after the dealers got more time in view of the pandemic. So really important piece that one, can go through when it comes to the mandatory hallmarking of gold. So that's all from me, Preeti, for this morning as far as the web news review is concerned. It's back to you for the rest of the news.
All right, thank you so much, Nancy, for joining in with that web news review. And after all those updates from the social media platforms, let's turn focus to sports now in our segment Sports Track. We begin with Euro 2020. Italy got back in action in their second group match. When we talk of Euro 2020, in their second group stage match, Azzurri squad defeated Switzerland for 3-0 in their second group stage match. Manuel Locatelli scored twice for Italy, while Ciro Immobile completed the scoreboard with 89th minute goal. Earlier, Italy defeated Turkey for same score in the opening match. Italy have made their chances of reaching the round of 16 high with 2 consecutive wins. They will secure top position in the group even if their third match against Wales ends in a draw. In another Group A match, Wales defeated Turkey for 2-0 and secured important 3 points which can pave their way towards the next round. Aaron Ramsey put Wales in front at 42nd minute. Star striker Gareth Bale missed a penalty kick at 61st minute. However, Connor Roberts' goal in the additional time completed Welsh triumph over Turkey. Wales is at second position in the group. A draw at final match is enough for them to make it to the next round. Meanwhile, Turkey is almost out of the tournament after losing both the matches. Finland lost 1-0 to Russia in St. Petersburg in their second Euro 2020 Group B match yesterday. In their first match since Denmark's Christian Eriksen suffered a cardiac arrest against them in their tournament opener. Alexei Miranchuk's strike in the first half stoppage time was the difference between the two teams in Finland's first match since their opening win over Denmark on Saturday, which was overshadowed by the incident which halted the game. Russia suffered a blow on the 25th minute when defender Mario Fernandes was taken off on a stretcher, but they nearly went ahead with substitute Vyacheslav Kerev took and looked set to tap in, only to be denied by Finland defender Juronen. Also, Finland's next Group B game is against Belgium on June 21st at St. Petersburg, while Russia will face Denmark in Copenhagen on the same day. A quick look at the matches today at Euro Cup 2020. In Group B, group topper Belgium will face Denmark, who are at the last place in the group, while in Group C, Ukraine will be up against North Macedonia and Netherlands will be up against Austria. With less than 40 days left for Tokyo Olympics, Indian players are gearing up for the event. In the Olympic series today, we will talk about ace Indian wrestler and current world number 2 Bajrang Punia, who is leaving no stone unturned to get a medal in the Tokyo Olympics.
Being the oldest sport in India, wrestling remains the nation's strongest medal contender at the Tokyo Olympics. World Wrestling Championship medalist Bajrang Punia will make his Olympic debut at Tokyo 2020 in the men's 65 kg weight category, which is also considered as the most difficult one. Bajrang Punia began wrestling at a tender age of 7 years. Punia first shot to fame after winning a bronze medal in 2013 Asian Wrestling Championship in 60 kg weight category. A year later, he went a step ahead and won silver medal in 61 kg weight category at the Glasgow Commonwealth Games. With the onset of Tokyo Olympics, India's ace wrestler and strong medal contender at the Olympics, Bajrang Punia has already started his final phase of preparations for the Tokyo Olympics. Punia will step on the mat in men's 65 kg weight category for his maiden Olympics appearance.
मैंने 2013 में जब वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप में मेडल जीता था, उसके बाद मैंने खुद से महसूस किया कि भाई हाँ, मैं देश के लिए और बहुत सारे मेडल जीत सकता हूँ। जब मैंने 18-19 साल का था, जब मैंने वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप में पहला मेडल जीता था, उसके बाद 2014 में मैंने एशियन गेम्स में, कॉमनवेल्थ गेम्स में मेडल जीता, तो खुद से एक मतलब ज़्यादा उम्मीदें हो गई कि भाई हाँ, मैंने देश के लिए ओलंपिक मेडल भी जीतना, क्योंकि सभी मेडल मेरे पास एक ओलंपिक का मेडल है, जो हर खिलाड़ी का सपना होता है और मेरा भी सपना है कि मैं देश के लिए ओलंपिक मेडल जीतूँ।
Bajrang Punia was rewarded with Arjuna Award in the year 2015. The freestyle wrestler won the gold medal in Asian Wrestling Championship in May 2017. He also won the gold medal at Commonwealth Championship in 2016 and 17. In November 2017, Punia secured the silver medal at the Under-23 Senior World Wrestling Championships. It was also his first medal at world level in the Olympics weight category. Gold medal in 2018 Commonwealth Games and Asian Games, silver medal in 2018 World Wrestling Championship, qualified for Olympics with bronze at 2019 World Wrestling Championship, won gold medal in Rome Ranking Series in the year 2020 and also bagged a silver medal in Asian Wrestling Championship in the year 2020. The internationally acclaimed wrestler is all set to make his debutant appearance at the Olympics as the strongest medal contender representing the nation in the sport of wrestling. Sports Desk, DD India.
And up next, we get you the health segment, wherein we get you one health tip every day to make sure you remain in good health and spirits. All right, let's get you the yoga mantra for today.
O Arjun, those who eat too much or too little, sleep too much or too little, cannot attain success in yoga.
And heart attack is a medical emergency that requires prompt and immediate treatment. Let's understand the importance of golden hour in the case of heart attacks.
The term golden hour is often used by cardiologists. What is the importance of golden hour? Let's understand from Dr. Sanjay Tyagi. Dr. Tyagi, what is golden hour and why is it important in the case of heart attack?
Most of the deaths due to heart attack occur within the first hour, and this is also called the golden hour, because if you take the patient to a facility where this treatment can be given, you can save that heart from developing damage. And if there is delay of more than 6 hours, then the heart gets irreversibly damaged. So one should rush these patients at the earliest possible. Whatever the transport is available, one should take the patient to a nearest hospital where the treatment of heart attack can be given.
What should be done in the case of heart attack and how to treat it?
When the patient reaches these hospitals, one does an electrocardiogram or ECG and identifies that this patient is heart attack, then immediately treatment is given. Even in bigger hospitals, the treatment is given in the form of angioplasty, where the artery which is blocked is opened up with the help of balloon dilatation. In centers where these types of facilities are not available, like district hospitals or in primary health centers, there injection can be given to dissolve that clot which is causing heart attack.
What are the warning or red flag signs in the case of heart attack?
Initially, it causes symptoms of angina. It causes chest pain on walking, which is in the form of discomfort. The pain is felt on the left side of the chest, it goes to the left arm and even goes to the jaw. Along with it, it causes shortness of breath also. If one has these types of symptoms, one should be alert, because it is a precursor to the development of heart attack. In heart attack, when the pain occurs, it is very severe. It is compressing in the chest. It causes sweating, as well as sometimes it causes nausea and vomiting. Along with this, there is severe shortness of breath. If one has these types of symptoms which last for more than 10 to 15 minutes, then it is a serious symptom of developing heart attack. Immediately one should rush that person to the nearest hospital where the treatment facilities are available.
Access to timely and optimal care can save the life of the patient with heart attack. So don't miss the golden hour. Kiran Bhardwaj, DD News.
All right, so that was the importance of golden hour in case a person is struck with a heart attack. Up next, we get to the weather report. Large-scale atmospheric conditions are not favourable for further advance of monsoon into Rajasthan, remaining parts of Gujarat, Punjab, Haryana and Delhi. There could be slow progress into some more parts of Uttar Pradesh during the next 5 days. And also because of this, fairly widespread to widespread rainfall with isolated thunderstorm and lightning is likely over parts of east, central and northeast India. Isolated heavy rainfall is also expected over the region over the next 4 to 5 days. And also heavy falls are likely over Bihar, West Bengal and Sikkim. And now we take a look at temperatures across major cities of the country. All right, time now to end this edition of Breakfast News. But before we go, we leave you with some good visuals every day. As British mathematicians Bertrand Russell famously quoted that it's coexistence or no existence. Now, a herd of life-sized model elephants have gone on display in 3 London locations as part of a conservation project. The sculptures are part of the coexistence campaign organized by Elephant Family Trust to spread the message of coexistence between wild animals and humankind. Before we go, we leave you with the glimpses of these sites. Take a look. Have a good day ahead. Bye-bye.
Namaste land. Marhaban ila al-Hind.